Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm continuing the story of Edith Stein, one of my greatest Catholic role models. So in the last video, I left off where Edith made the decision to enter the Carmelite monastery, and she did so in 1933 when she entered the Carmelite monastery in Cologne, Germany. So while she was there, she wrote books of theology and philosophy, and she also wrote a lot of prayers and poems and essays as well. So her intellectual gifts were widely recognized and utilized while she was in the monastery. And so in addition to prayer and work, she also was given time to work on her writing as well. Another thing that's just really interesting to note was that Edith never hid the fact that she came from a Jewish family. She was very open about her Jewish heritage, and she always regarded herself as a member of the Stein family and as a daughter of Israel. And even though being cloistered meant she couldn't leave the monastery to visit her family, she still remained in contact with many members of her family. Another interesting thing as well was that during Edith's time in the Cologne monastery, her sister Rosa also converted to Catholicism, and she actually became a third order Carmelite, and so she also would work at the monastery as well. So in 1938, Edith made her perpetual vows under the name Sister Teresa Benedicta of the Cross. And also at that time, because of the situation in Germany and the increased Nazi persecution of the Jewish people, the decision was made that she should be transferred to a Carmelite monastery in the Netherlands where they believed that she would be safe. And something that was really interesting to note, though, was even though Edith transferred to the monastery in the Netherlands, she was very well aware of the danger that she was in. And despite the fact that they believed she would be safe there, she had a really strong sense that she wasn't going to survive the war. And yet she was really accepting of that. And in fact, she desired to offer herself as a sacrifice in order to bring about true peace. Sadly, her suspicions were realized when in 1940 the Germans invaded the Netherlands and occupied it, and almost immediately they started to persecute the Jewish people in the Netherlands. The laws impacted Edith and her sister Rosa as well. And in 1941, that was when the Nazis forced all of the Dutch Jews to wear the Star of David on their clothes. And Edith and Rosa were forced to wear the star, the yellow star, as well. And at this point, after the Nazis had invaded, the Mother Superior of the Carmelite monastery recognized the danger that Edith was in, and she tried really hard to get Edith transferred to a convent that was in Spain and in Switzerland and in France, but unfortunately by that point the borders were closed and it was too late, and there was no way that Edith or Rosa could get out. When the Nazis started deporting people to concentration camps, initially Edith and Rosa were safe because at that point the Nazis weren't targeting people of Jewish ancestry who had become Christian. At that point it seemed like they might be safe. But then in July of 1942, there were a group of Dutch bishops published a letter in which they denounced the Nazi persecution of the Jewish people. And it was a very brave move on their part, but unfortunately the repercussions were really devastating. And as a result of this letter, in retaliation, the Nazis rounded up all Catholics who were of Jewish descent. And that was a total of over 700 people. And they came to the monastery and they arrested Edith and Rosa and they took them away. And one of the sisters who was there when the Gestapo took Edith away, she heard Edith saying to Rosa, "Come, let's go for our people." And that was the last thing any of her fellow Carmelites heard her say. So now this is like August 2nd in 1942. So Edith and Rosa and the other people who were in this transport, they were sent to a transit camp in the Netherlands called Westerbork. And this is actually the same camp that Anne Frank would be sent to a couple years later. And so Westerbork was what they called a transit camp. So the Nazis would temporarily send people to Westerbork and they would keep them there for a while, and then usually they would be sent on to Auschwitz or other concentration camps. And at Westerbork, there were people who survived who remembered encountering Edith there. And something that these eyewitnesses all had in common was that they said that there was such a sense of peace and of calm and of inner strength that just completely emanated from her. And not only that, but she went to great lengths to do anything she possibly could to help those around her and to comfort them. And what was really powerful was that there were some young mothers who were sent to the camp who were just in complete shock and were unable to take care of their children. And so Edith took it upon herself to look out for these children when their mothers couldn't. She would make sure that they were washed. She would dress them, comb their hair, and make sure that they were fed, and did everything she could to take care of them and to comfort them in this really, really terrible place. And another thing too that just goes to show what a saint she truly was that there was a Dutch official in Westerbork who was really impressed with Edith and at how calm she was and how much she helped other people. And so he decided to offer her the opportunity to escape. And Edith immediately turned him down and rejected the offer of escape because she said that she had to be with her people and there was no way she was ever going to abandon her people. She was determined to go through the same fate that they would go through, and knowing very well that it was going to be her death. It's also notable to mention as well that the last poem that she wrote before she was arrested and deported, in the poem she just completely surrendered herself to God's will and just showed that she had complete trust in God and whatever his will was for her. And so Edith was only in the camp for about a week when she and Rosa were put on another transport, and this transport went to Auschwitz. And actually their names don't even appear on the records at Auschwitz. And so what this means was that very soon after their arrival, she and Rosa were killed in the gas chambers of Auschwitz. And on that day, the world lost an incredibly gifted and brilliant and wonderful holy person. And it was such a great loss to the world. Edith was then canonized as a saint in 1998 by Pope John Paul II, and she was canonized as Saint Teresa Benedicta of the Cross. And her legacy was, of course, in the many books and poems and essays and prayers that she left. But for me, there's other aspects of her legacy that are really just as powerful. And for me, one is that she really provides a great example for Catholics. She had great love for her family and for the Jewish people, and she never did anything to try and proselytize to them or try to convert them. She never did anything like that. She completely respected their faith. And I think that's a really important lesson and example for Catholics, to always respect our Jewish brothers and sisters and to truly love and respect their faith and their heritage. And that is such an important lesson for Catholics. And the other aspect of Edith's legacy that really is so powerful for me was that, to me, she's a bridge between the Catholic and the Jewish traditions. She was a proud daughter of Israel who embraced Catholicism. And in that way, I see her as a bridge between the faiths and as a beacon for hope and for peace and for understanding. And that's so very powerful for me, because as someone who practiced the Jewish faith for many years, I too have a really strong desire to be a bridge between the two faiths. And so for me, Edith showed me how I can be that bridge and how I too can work for tolerance and understanding and peace between Catholicism and Judaism. And that is truly the greatest gift that anyone could give to me. And so for that reason, Edith means so much to me and is one of my greatest Catholic role models. If you're interested in learning more about Edith, I've included some resources in the description below where you can learn more about her. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to listen and learn about Edith's story and the tremendous impact that she's had on my life. Have a blessed day.